Manju Shri Ye Nama So Shri Ye Nama O Dhamma Shri Ye Soha Manju Shri Ye Nama So Shri Ye Nama O Dhamma Shri Ye Soha O Namo Manju Shri Ye Nama So Shri Ye Nama O Dhamma Shri Ye Soha Dani Kyasu Ji, Dagi Junyan Gibe Sonangi, Jola Beche Sangi, Joba Shu, Dagi Shushin Mayonta, Rali Shen Yede Gembade, Sangi Shindo Mede Huai, Ukinanda Shela Cheba Shu, Yeda Inkoro Rana Mendala Kandiya Daya Mi.
당화서 운동이지 유난한 그 최대등이 돈이 쇼당도 제 안딩이 나도 제라도 템바 투비 한번 사다 뭐랑 되게 짜이다 말았다 넘바 템바 투비 한번 사다 다 당고도 최지자와 세도 좀 సమస్య요 సమయ가 지네 예 간다 왜 세기지나 아마 전때 가서 나고야야 하는 거 같아 간다 왜 세기지 김배 이제 상태 라나 스킬이 내가지 다 얘는 마 우타니까다 다 제와 제가 토마는 반사 디바가 나타나 나한테 지가 바나나 파이야스는 사들이 내가지 이 들리기에는 손 위에는 손 아니가는 손 시도 고치와 어떤 시선을 당시했어.
So we do breathing meditation. Please say according to the 7 meditative posture of Vairocana. Then we visualize in the space before us, there sits Buddha Shakyamuni. The form is Buddha Shakyamuni. The nature is no different from one's guru. And Buddha Shakyamuni is surrounded by Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions. And from them, light rays radiate together with nectars in 5 colors. When we breathe in, then we visualize the 5 color light nectar enter into our body, fills up our bodies, and we receive the blessings. And when we breathe out, then we visualize all our negativities, obscurations, sicknesses, etc. in the form of black smoke come out from the body together with the out breath and vanish in the space. So first 3 times we breathe in with right nostril and breathe out with left nostril. The second set of 3 times, then we breathe in with left nostril and breathe out with right nostrils. Third set of 3 times, then we breathe in and out with both nostrils.
그 뒤지라 동의지나 있으니 제가 탕지 다그 챙디 만나시 가든 친구 차다 마마지 버지자 마시바 탕지 마셔바니 다 등지지 만드는 대원 대장 난도 고로 지병도 등에 마시 뭐 대가 끼지잖아 등지지 만드는 대치 피스서마다 채나 좀 제가 지지 제가 샤오 대치 보셨어.
All sentient beings in the state of sufferings, they have been our mothers, and their kindness to us was exactly the same as the mothers of these lives. So all sentient beings have been our mothers before, and for numberless time. So in our mind cultivate loving kindness towards them, thinking, how nice if all sentient beings have happiness. And may they have happiness, I will cause them to have happiness.
더 던지지 만드는 일리지 간다 내나 산중화시 내발라서 문디 리지 문디 비초 타다 좀 쯤으로 저와지 저와샤서 diminiye.
Next, we cultivate compassion towards all sentient beings. So may all sentient beings be free from physical sufferings, physical sicknesses, and any discomfort caused by the imbalance of four elements. So may all sentient beings be free of all physical sufferings. And I will cause them to be free from all those physical sufferings.
더 던지지 만드는 생진 지자가 되게다 나도 차라는 바 타다가 좀 쯤으로 저와지 저와샤서 상다셨어.
May all sentient beings be free of mental sufferings, mental anxiety, fear, and conceptions. So may all sentient beings be free of all mental sufferings. I will cause them to be free from all mental sufferings.
더 던지지 만드는 ngāki zīngāsī mājī nīmbā chārā tāsāla chāna chīmāru chāvā chīchī chāvā shāvā sātū sāntāshīs.
And may all kind mother sentient beings be free of verbal negativities such as lies, such as telling lies, divisive speech, and etc. So may all sentient beings be free of verbal negativities. I will cause them to be free of all those verbal negativities.
Tāndō dīnā chīnchī māndana gōsāñchī mūntī bīchō tātāka chāna chīmā chāvā chīchī chāvā dāgī shāvā tētā shēnī mā lāma dā shīnchī lātō sū sātū sāñchī. chīnchī māndana chī gōsāñchī mūntī bīchō tātā chāna chīmā chāvā chīchī chāvā dāgī shāvā tētā shēnī mā lāma dā shīnchī lātō sū lāma dā shīnchī lātō sū.
So in brief, may all sentient beings be free of, may their three doors be free of opposing forces. So how wonderful if their three doors are free of all those opposing forces, and I will cause their three doors to be free of those opposing forces. So may Lama please bless me to be able to do so.
던지지 만드나 코아den에서 그 동아리야 doing get 슬라보도 생게도 녀라나 보제 대디미가 양다고 좀 상지지 공부하는 게 니바데 니바데 술이었으면 양다고 좀 상지라 여비 여바시네 했은지 탄지도 상지지 공부하다 보셔 change 생각이었어.
Next we cultivate bodhicitta, asking oneself who has the responsibility to free all sentient beings from three lower realms and whole samsara. And I should take the responsibility to free them from all sufferings. However, I do not have the ability to free them from sufferings right now. Only those who have achieved the state of enlightenment, the perfect complete enlightenment, have the ability to do so. Thus, for the sake of all sentient beings, I want to become Buddha.
더 뒤져서 시대 남고 최타 제 랑이 주고 됐잖아요. 랑이 주고 동아인 사도서
Next, we meditate on emptiness. All phenomena, external phenomena and internal phenomena, not even one atom exists inherently, and they are empty of inherent existence. For the sake of all sentient beings, I want to become Buddha, and for this purpose, I'm going to study Lojong teachings and put it into practice.
Oh yeah, thank you. That ring on the Shian Tade, Niamunda, Nai, Chase, Madanko, Nimi, Magombi, that Linget Yaralan, Tanan Kwa into Chewashas Dinma, Shays.
Verse 30. Wherever there is liking for the afflictions and great distractions, it is the sharp weapons of bad actions turning against us for not having meditated on impermanence and the shortcomings of cyclic existence. Now we should develop strong repulsion for cyclic existence.
The ring on the Ranger pitch on the Shashawakita, Kanda, Toge Tans Labay. That data Toge Tans, Teta Tendon, so Shiggy Bangazeta, Jina, some Tonches of Chiro. I got that Teanashi. That got that
Toge Suyoba.
Toge Tans was a bit Toge chips, said the name of Chino. The Chidro. Then I did it. 안아서 들어와 녀물라가 나이 치세서 누구로 that 간다 그래서 냐지가 보여 봐 차시 오겠다 간다 시에다 에 되는 데 받치와 그래서 간다 녀물하고 있으므로 와 취시지 그거 정지 자 많이 봐 나이 때 신도 치와 이 나이 전부 간다 제정도 봐 나에다 미다 녀무 딘디기 시와도 장장되네 그래서 그 메시지로 봐 딘디 요레스와 딘디 요한테 랑가 나 거의 님이서 먹어 봐 치와 못다 봐다 그러와 민중다 어디서 자원 단지 어디서 자원이 먹은데 이 간다 너무 진짜부터 리에스고 이 너무 진짜부터 단다 간다 리니 천자대
So wherever there is liking for the afflictions and great distractions, so we always let the afflictions arise for the sake of our stomach. So for the sake of food, then we always generate afflictions, and then we are greatly distracted by them as well. So it is the sharp weapons of bad actions turning against us for not having meditated on impermanence and the shortcomings of cyclic existence. So we have we are under the control of afflictions, then we develop strong attachments towards others, then we develop strong clinging thoughts towards others as well, and then we do not, since our mind is greatly distracted by afflictions, then we waste our time in sleeping as well, and and then we do not have the opportunity to practice Dharma, and we waste our lives not practicing Dharma. And this is the result of not having meditated on impermanence and the faults of samsara.
shinda pina pisu soba shinda kare medo pina dongda pisu soba kandi jeba ina nembo gaga mares kanda dugi medo oda dela chali pe dela kawa shon du reserva majati da dugi medo pe kanda anganso ben koyi piso la yende sambe gune de dela chali 거의 배잖아. 난 거의 배저도 가서 내갑지 대화나 뭐 차고로 내갑지 농시 내갑이 대화. 오다도 솔라 신도 차네 대간다가 좀 세고라. 다 나영원다 내물 왕기 도스 다 간다면 제조로. 이 워리스 이 된다서 간다 레니비 이제비 다소
For not having meditated on death and impermanence and the shortcomings of cyclic existence, then we are like, then we are like, how say the example of peacocks. So the peacocks, they do not take delight in the garden of beautiful flowers, right? And peacocks, they take delight in the poisonous of plants. So, and we we think of the samsaric goodness as a quality. So we only think about the samsaric goodness as something excellent, and then we develop. Though it give rise to temporary happiness, and then because of it giving rise to temporary happiness, then we develop strong attachments towards those, and then our life is totally wasted in this way. So now we are experiencing the result.
제자들 리선사 다 내년 진짜라는 코와 선사 다 다른 코와 인주 체와 샤와스도 된다데 다른 코와 동아 지상기도 통에 다 대달라 인주 인주 슈자고 제바 샤우냐도 공부를 해서 다 된다들이 해서 와 다 다른 순지에서 와 단스는 코와 타라 동아 지상기 통에 대달라 간다 예반주의 인주 상바 슈자고 제바 샤우냐 상부가 된다래서 와
And so what we should do is, from now on, we should develop strong repulsions for cyclic existence. So we have to see the samsara is in the nature of sufferings and then develop strong renunciations.
Syria generally nine session that Paja Mobi Chibuta and nine and there's a Paji coaches in Jigo. The Mobi Chibularo was a 9 on the Casino Japan. That day or the Kanda this individual de la pair, nine on the Rosa Mambo, that is also the Tola Mando, the Sela Tanzichia kitchen, but that because it did to sit Tanzichia, the kitchen.
Yeah, so especially in this modern world, due to the science and technology's advancements, so there are more distractions in the world. So, like for example, just handphone alone. So how distracted it is to us. So we have to cherish our times and do not waste our times in those distractions.
Tadi kaduleni dunji shiba ina kuntaru mushi somebody tanguma changse gemba de sama da ku chesarwa dipe shiba sena pemba de sama tanga shujere dambu shiji madin ne shitase tadi mambu ji hago gore dambu chi shiji madin ne shita shedo san ne she maju sen ne she de machi tomba se binanda se sholo ga chi chi do sholo ga chi den woni tane sama tanga de shibre do de 어디 때디마 지슈이로
당부디 마시에로
아뭐 치시지 마디마 너네 시타
너 마디바
마지마 치시지 마지마 아뭐 시지 마 치시지 마지마다 마디바
마디바
맞아 너네 시 진짜리에서 아무들
And I'm going to quote Kuntang Rinpoche's verse, and this is a very famous verse to think about, and by thinking about it, it will definitely benefit our mind. And this verse is a very famous verse that I quoted a few times already. So those senior members definitely have heard about it. So the verse goes like this. So for the first 20 years, we do not remember Dharma. And for another 20 years, then I'm going to practice Dharma. Then for another 20 years. And for another 20 years, then it didn't happen. Then my lives wasted in this way.
tambu chi shi ju ma de ba de kanda pu ma amal chi ni so de ta lo shinga tu de zen ge lo jong tan de ke ka ke sa no yo ma re ama ina phama ina lo jong jing yo ma re ta de ni ya zne de lo jong jing do ne lo dang da bu jing do ta lo ne she de ba pha chi ta chi chi ya de ya la ka le kha bu re ta phama sam ba ka shi gi be mi se gi ko ta nga da bo da de ka shi lo di ta da nga so ti yo ro da de ji ma da sang ngwe ni su gi chi ya bu chi ya sang sang le tu ka le kha bu ro wa
yeah. So for the first 20 years, we do not remember Dharma, and this is very true because since our birth and until 4 or 5 or 6 years old, then we do not remember. I say we do not remember to study, right? And then until the year of 20, then we do not remember about Dharma, that we need to practice Dharma, unless the parents, due to the kindness of some parents, then they teach or they give teachings or advice, Dharma advice to their children. Other than that, so for generally, so for persons for their first 20 years, we do not remember Dharma.
Tā lō nēshī kī jēlē pē, lō yāngjā nēshī rōwa, tā chī shē chū mā rī, mā shū sā rī. Tā lō nēshī tēne tāngē, jēdō sā nē, nēshī sā wā dē. Tā kāntā lō nēshī jēlē, tā ngō nē chī chī mā shī nē dī gu mūndu, tā lō nēshī rōwa tsāndā, tā chī chī yé chē mūndu, tā ngō nē chē gu mūndu sā, tā chē gu mūndu chāngjā sā nō mā tō, chī chī yā ngō shū nē sū yō mā. Tā tēndī mā tsū mī pā chī lō nēshī tēn rōwa sā rī sī wā.
And for the second 20 years, then we think that, oh, now I need to practice Dharma. So I need to practice Dharma, and we only think that we need to practice Dharma. So just thinking this way, then we wasted another 20 years.
단도에 어떤 마중에 취지야 지 조문도다 당마랑 거니 취지야 조문도 당마지는 리고문도 취지야 조문도 문도 시지가 야 직지에 제고 못 줘요 말에 한고 맛은 로 내신도 살이스 다로 두진도 살이.
So for the first 20 years, we do not remember Dharma, and for the next 20 years, then we only think we need to practice Dharma. So and do not put it into practice. So we really spend the 40 years of our lives, and for the next 20 years, then we think that, oh, it didn't happen. So, and by thinking about this, it didn't happen. So the Dharma practice didn't happen. So then we wasted another 20 years. And now we are 60 years old.
Mutsi tumba sewe nangsa, da de kanda susuku mutsi de, da lo dujun do tsadi, de pe da che goga chunu ma zhini, da ngani mutsi, da pachi zo tsarwa, mutsi pachiwa zo tsar da kanda rwa, da kasi ji chiya iraba ina lo khaji zi rwa, o da dendri ji ndo tsar, da kanda, da dila nishi ti se, jigo rde da, du se ju yu sa ma rwa, o da de, duzu samlo tanga da kei chemu shimu re, da kanda wansu shishu ji lelo sewa desu, lelo desu wanda jangja, da nanyi desu wanda jangja tangba ina, 데 간다지라 소소고 뭐지 존로리 이 시간은 줘봐치야 난 줘봐치나 다 내가 상사사리 요만이지 로 난 줘봐치 치다로 와 치다 다 단다 소소고 돈이 다 그래서 소소고 비슷해서 하나 찍고 다 간다 취치야기 니마리라 간다 만부터 마디나 까마 쭈짱아 내슈 취치 체가 취치 지니 뭐다 근데 까마가 쭈째 마디나 다 자원 니고 말고 제가 서버 간디면 간이나 까방아 쭉 땡데 따뜻해 주셔서 주세요.
And the fourth line is, then our human lives are wasted in this way. So we do not derive anything out of it. So when we are 60 years old, then we almost spend most of our lives already. Even if you start to practice then you're left probably only a few years to do your Dharma practice. So these 4 lines is very important to think about it. Then we have to think about we should not let ourselves controlled by the laziness or procrastinations, and then we should not let ourselves controlled by those distractions, and then otherwise our lives will be wasted in this way. And if we do not if we do not practice Dharma, and when we are about to die, then only we feel regret, then that is too late already. There's nothing much we can do. So we should give ourselves time to practice. No matter how busy you are, then you have to allocate time for yourself to do Dharma practice. So 5 minutes or 10 minutes, that is the least durations that we have to give to ourselves, no matter how busy you are. So 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or 30 minutes, or 1 hour.
That is the one of the teaching that just Mandu, show it, let a 20 check the Sebai, a lemon to Jarana Goy done, silly song, never chassis, with the demon shade.
When verse 31, wherever no matter what we do, we fall into decline. It is the sharp weapons of bad actions turning against us for having disregarded actions as well as cause and effect, cause and result. Now we should strive in actions of forbearance and so forth.
That on the day, Jesus Lando Masha said, Tangaso Rajunji charge and Rajunji in Baina, she saw Gumbana de, Loni Apoche, Nyani Apoche, Sampe, and the Sanotori Apoche Kuni, so Devaina. That on the Lando Majuba. Roa, that Rajun Kansajin, Rajuna de Matuba Matiano, Samo Kandita by the Lando Zawani Mando, Roa, so the Sozo Katichilena, a Lando Majuna to Uroa. The Rajuna to Digi, and Tamal Pesos Rajuna Matianuga, and Digi, a Lando Majua. That was the Chimba Rabaina Sosoge, Songi Shawaina and Lega, Kandi Kipe, Kanda Chedok, a Che Dubaina and Jidinji Shawa Kandikina, the councils of Kandi Cheva in a Colando Zawani Majua. Chile, Sosoga Tenda Sana, the Zawani in Lalmando. That indeed, that. Nomi Jinjabo Karis, Ju Kandistan in Jerusalem. That Joanama that sent the Kandijina, Kanda Lendi la Chesi Chibi. Lendi la Chesi saw the Mazo, Ju Giosan and Jibu Deva, Jumati, Hakoba, Shebachi. Ju Magi Lesan and Jibu Dunjumati, Shebachi. That Shina, Shishi, Magi Le, Sachimbosa, Kumako, Jabaji, Roa, that Lega, Dua Chanja, and the Lendi la Chesi Chile. What the Nichi Nami is about that day. Nami Chile. The Lenny with Sanja, Deputy, this was all I mean by the
And so wherever, no matter what we do, we fall into decline. So we do not accomplish what we intended. Like for example, as a ordained persons, so then we ordain and then we stay in monastery, and then with positive motivations that I want to study Dharma and I want to practice Dharma as well. So no matter how much no matter how careful they are with practicing it and studying it, and however they do not turn out well, so do not turn out as intended, and then they end up leaving the monastery. And for the householders, like for doing business, for example, and doing works and etc. So no matter how well we're trying to do the work, and no matter how careful we are trying to carry out the work, and it doesn't turn out as intended as well. So why do we experience such result? The cause is for having disregarded actions as well as cause and effect. So in other words, is for having disregarded karmic cause and effect. So what does it mean by disregarding or belittling karmic cause and effect? So we understand by doing virtue, you will bring forth the result of happiness. So by having this understanding, then we engage in non-virtue. Like for example, stealings, robbing, and etc. Then this is how we disregarding. This is how we disregard karmic cause and effect.
This is the Dan is really so long. Beba shi da shinji lo woro. Da shinji la pene chue dan ji din ji shawa lega kandi ji leba ina. Pa lendi pond su ne. Lendi da manga wa ro. Lendi pond su ne. Te kanda megi chu pon ya ge. Te so pa ka tambi chue ge wala. Pe ro lo jung ji ne. Kangi ka ti shong ba na te la se tu ba. Se tu bi to ne ro. Te la se tu bi to ne. Te kanda da megi chu mo la so tsi la so ta tsi ji ya ba so ne. So
now what should we do? So from now on, we should strive in actions of forbearance and so forth. And so then we have to put effort in practicing, in studying Dharma and practicing Dharma as well, and do not engage in activities that will contradict the karmic cause and effect. And we take karmic cause and effect as our witness, as the witness for our actions. So by doing so, then when we engage in Dharma study and Dharma practice, so whatever hardships that it occurs, then we endure it by not contradicting the karmic cause and effect. Like, for example, by keeping well the morality of abandoning 10 non-virtues. Verse 32. Wherever the rites that are performed go awry, these the sharp weapons of bad actions turning against us for having put our trust in the black side. Now we should turn away from the black side.
shatin dami na so che shatin katsi che ba ina de so so kanda nya cha ya tha me ba sung ya keson yuan me ba ro so ni ya keson mo ta ru kanda nya cha dur ndo da so da nu chu che ndo ndo ya da tin le ka la o da so so o da ni che se wala da ni che mo du da ni shatin mo bu tin ji du ndo mo bu tin ji che de 단도 계산 라야다 야 나사 자야다 총 계산을 파셔 둘둘 ndo 최선하들 니 이제 여서 말해서 들이 다 로다셔요 말해서 와 니 로다 맞아 와 다른 간다 체험만 지원만 나서 다 군조로 간다 로먹해 봐 군조스라 로먹해 봐다 뭐만 이비 배 한테 들어버니 이치 쇼진 지디를 하서 뭐네 저거 배 자선 줘 봐. 왜 봐라 군조라 봐. 이치 시다 맞이 봐지. 대 미만 이래서 달하던 데서 배 저희 넘버도 쉬고 요래 넘도지니 다들소라 봐 이치 침보다 나 나쇼글래 내가 나보내니 두자들소라 봐 제스로네 들소라 배 이치 자마시니 대 샤왕이 봐 쇼라 장장도니 다디 인제비들 예스 간다와 이 인제비들 먼저 단달라 정도 치보다 치치보다 수수기 정년 비내슬라 팽고르슬라 땡고에 내슬라 팽 세노라 치보사 팽고야레스 단다 나미진 제비들 수수기 제비들 가서 보디 대간다 제비들 미토 레오디 된 제비들 또 도요 말와 제비들 또 도요 말에 샤팅까지 같이 두바이나 제비들 또 도요 말와
공단이 제비들 토요 말이스
제비들 또 토요 말이스 소소 제비들 미자라 놈이 레디 놈이 레디긴 제비들 미자리데 단다 샤팅까지나 람사디 또 도요 말에 안 제비들 마밍이나 소소 지 다른 제비들 두자 예스 두자 뭐가 지데 파도 도요와 단도 뒤진네 다소소 내가 다른 뒤지 도 배치다 안 가서 두자 소라 내가 요하다 손 베스트 떠니네 내가 광고 반자 뒤에 들이 뭐 많이 와기 단도 변바 쇼조되어 와 다도 하고 왜 말아
Yeah, so when our business do not profit as much, and when we experience many sicknesses, then we start to do practices, pujas, right? Religious practices. Then we engage in we do dara pujas, then we do gangso puja, and then we do protector pujas. Then after we do those practices, and instead of improving on instead of the business getting improved, instead of the sickness getting improved, and they become worse. So we lost even more, and then the sickness are getting worse and worse, and because of this, then we generate wrong view, thinking that though I do those practices already, however, it doesn't turn out, it is not effective, so it doesn't help me at all, then I do not have faith in Dharma anymore. So we should not generate such a wrong view. And why we experience such result is because for having put our trust in the black side. So we do not entrust, or we do not have trust in the three jewels, and we instead then we believe in those worldly gods, and then we believe in those non-human beings for their we entrust ourselves to them, then so that they will perform, they will give the result effectively or immediate results. So then we're following all kinds of negative activities, or the activities in the dark side, then we create much negativities. So we do those pujas. Does it help? It helps. It does help as well. Then because by doing those pujas, then we accumulate merits. However, the karma that we have accumulated in the past, it has ripened already. It already ripened, and since it is ripened already, then there is no way that we can get rid of those results. So and they also benefit us, like for example, in reducing the severe negative result of those negative karma. Like for example, instead of becoming poor like a beggars, instead of losing whole business and etc.
That's also the big shaking Mamma Dilla, Rotachi, Rotachina Pesa, or conduct and business also Marine Japan paint over. This also Sana Lachimosasa.
Yeah, so after we do those pujas, and then if it doesn't turn out as we intended, then we should not develop wrong views. Otherwise, then by developing this wrong view, then again we accumulate more negativities. So we have to be very careful with ourselves. So in fact, by doing those pujas, we also accumulate merits as well. And so we should not trust those on the black side, like for example, non-human beings and the teachers who teach wrong path, or ask you to do negativities and etc. So we should not trust them or trust the black side. And what we should do, so from now on, we should turn away from the black side.
That's also the Naji, Lama Sena, Gege Sena de Naji Zinsave, Nabachi Reservoir. Naji Sosopina, Shati Puri Kandi Duguena, Lansako, Nabata and Nape, teaches at the China, sent the Shimanigala, look is a lot is at the China, in the countries that you are Nabachi. But that in this year, Nabala Kokadi Kandakadina, Nipe, Kangi Karichova in a China, and look is a China, in it, slowly. Then imagine nobody made a Koran in Nana, that she didn't do a labor, that she didn't do a labor, that permitted that Nanjiko, each other, look here, Chanda Chana in Sigore, that permitted Tasana Koran, Kalasogore, Kalasoguri, that nobody pay under churches like Chahon to know, Shani Roa, that didn't Shani, the church at the Shani, there permitted Koran like Umuchi, this lemon of Jirwa. This is curriculum. Some Jachin Bushira, Tamajin, Nisha. That promotion utilize that China not Tasan Kalasogres, I'm not Tasan Kalasogres, China, and nobody, Kumaji mother. That's cheesy. Going down a shower is it? Going down the shower. That is Shai Gala, that permit Kora non Tasan Kalasan, that original Yali. That original Yali, Chogana, and that Chanda Kunyali. They get at this shade, the promotion you take Amalamita, Singaba Statsili, Amas, Naba Kumachi Gemas, Tsugu distance, Kumaji Wudu, Tsugu distance, Tangashon doing that, Lorenzo. Oh, 다 들러디다 나바디 그런 이심이 부모님들 그런 두니 샤와자 하고 다 의원에서 할래 그거 말 간다 나지 카드 시고 예스고 다 내가 나지 차네 차스는 땡지고 말은 가지고 kunjo 할래 그거 예스고라 시선이니까 시치기 리긴나지다 나게 삼바 이나다 나고 간디 제바 간디나 참아 칸 시에바다 알레라 따바 세나 때바 들리지 구글 예스고로 어디든지 된다고 이야기 내가 열었어
So regarding this, and I tell you a story. So there was one lady, there was one woman. So this woman is quite talkative, and then she regarded one tantric practitioners as lamas or as teachers, and always say to the lamas that whatever problems I have, I always entrust myself to you, and then you have all my faith in you, and then if I need to do pujas, then I always trust you. So and these tantric practitioners, then he arrived at the house of the women, and to do the pujas. Then these women placed these tantric practitioners in a small living room, and since these ladies has to prepare food and drink, so she was preparing the food in the kitchens, and then this woman has one daughter, and this daughter do not think much, is quite a straightforward person who do not think much. So and this woman told her daughter that mother need to cook, mom need to cook, so you stay by the door and to check whether that tantric practitioners steal our stuffs or not. And then this mother continued to cook in the kitchens. Then one in between, then this mother bring food and tea to the tantric practitioners, and then this daughter staying by the door, staying next to the door, and then look at her mother and look at the tantric practitioners and said, these tantric practitioners, he just stayed there quietly and he didn't steal our stuffs. And then now I'm going out. Then then this daughter just left. So this story tells us that this mother or this woman do not have the faith in the tantric practitioners, and this is what we should not do. So this is not what we should be, and so this is not what we should do, and what we should do is our outer appearance and our inner mind are in accord. So they concord with each other. So whatever we do, whatever we think, and then we do it.
Tadi wajila kunjo sola soa matiji sanje bala ichi majibi lengen chega rana kwaye tanu kunjo kona temba shahase tadi mashiro.
Verse 33. Whenever our requests do not reach the three jewels, it is the sharp weapons of bad actions turning against us for not having had confidence in Buddhahood. Now we should rely upon the three jewels alone.
Tadi kundu ndabu yore tanda kundu shiye dhruwa. Tadi nganzu ranja susu pina chue tanji tingji shawa kandi ji chebu yana susu tenda tsano tanga da pe chue shawa pe susu jila topa jiya da pe misi chirwa tagarong sendela pe jiya shuji sango ya bachi. Tanji tingji shawa yana pe susu pina dechi pisun sopa da pe longji shuji yoba sango tanji tani che nirwa. Tanga ngaro sana tamba nashi pe kanda kunjo go roba chebu 제로 지스네 딱 군저가 쏘았다고 한다로 나랑 삼반나시 대가로 누워 쉬었어 삼반나시 다 딘디 쏘았더니 다 삼반나시 누투요 말이 간다 다 삼반나시 딘디 쏘았더니 다 쏘아 군저스나 쏘아 태면 누상 다 군저스나 쏘아 마테바 이나세로 군저스나 쏘아 마테비 다 딘디 군저스나 쏘아 마테바 쓴다 다네 군저스 녀네 다네 조츠네네 제로바 지금 예사면도 상사 딘디기 다 노다 지역이 내가야리 딘디 로다 마자와서와 딘디 로다 마자와 데 가르스나 다 지와 ngoma 나서 아니 페 소소 남바 이바 시자치와 so number in Shijaki, number in Mr. was Kunjusula each and Midroa, Janu Kun Chivashagua, number in Metroa, the Janduton Chivajago. That's also number not Chivanoma number in the color, so the Kunjula Le Makiba. Kunjusula Le Makiba, each things are one. Can be Kunjo say Labatani mother. Can be Nesla, that's the number Sia Kalekaucha. Number is a number in by Nasu Kunjo, Janu Gurua. Janu Yabuji never in the number Kunsugoma. Tindigumala, Kunjo Seva, Petisan, the Yanga Seva, Kanda, Kunjo Seva, the Moton get the Zijin get the Linda Wonder was not the Shinda, when they sounded the troop, the Digipet Chet of Habaji Sanam Mevachi. The Digita Yagi, Nika Yorisegura. That the leader saw in Nangazo, negative motor, negative CG and about the other, we could pen or Cheva Karwa. But that could you let motor get CG and the lead on your mother, each Megazina. That's our name is woman, you are that kind of.
So regarding this verse is quite similar to the previous verse. So the Dharma activities we do and the worldly activities. So for example, when we practice Dharma, then we say we want to develop realizations in this, we wish to develop realizations in these lives. And for those worldly activities, like for example, works or businesses, then we say that we want to accumulate a lot of wealth. So then we pray to three jewels, then say that please help me to accomplish my wish. Then since then our wish is not accomplished as we wish, then we say that my prayer to three jewels is impotent, and these three jewels do not help us. Do not help us. Then we generate a wrong view in relation to three jewels, and then why we experience such results is because in the past, then when we were a Buddhist, so the way to tell the difference, the way to differentiate Buddhist and non-Buddhist depends on the person whether they have taken refuge or not. So you have taken refuge, then they are Buddhist, and without it, then they are not a Buddhist. So when we were a Buddhist in the past, we do not entrust ourselves, or we do not have faith and confidence in the three jewels. And though we mouth I take refuge in three jewels, however, in our mind we do not have trust and faith in the three jewels. And worse is, we regard three jewels as no difference from the check divinations. Yeah, so it's no difference than a fortune teller, persons who check divinations. So we regard them as the same, and this is as well because compared to the fortune teller, three jewels definitely is much more extraordinary. So it is not appropriate to have the same regard for three jewels and for the fortune teller.
You can't make him the that's chill. I'm also lonely chance of things or the way it's a year of Kita, as in Jiddy Kabila did so. Maybe to the Lucy when meeting when it's a social Jobo Gasa Chile, Lanza, and some Timbata, Kag de Woshiada, condition, Janda Unisilla, Japtinis. Part Dorsady, Cartridge at the Japtins, I say, didn't she? Japtina, Tangi Peninsula, Ishimabata, De Sedumabata, the Ditandarewa. Or Tangani can love at Nashi, the laws and Chimani Samad, Dindia Basamazo, Dindia City, and also Siton Yobication ship of war. Or the Japtima, my Dindia Machi. Or the dish.
And so now what we should do is, from now on, we should rely upon the three jewels alone. So we should rely on three jewels: Buddha jewels, Dharma jewels, and Sangha jewels. And we not just mouthing the refuge prayers. Then in our heart, we truly and sincerely have faith and have trust in the three jewels. So from now on, until I achieve the state of enlightenment, I will take refuge in three jewels sincerely, and I do not, and I will not take others as my refuge. So only you as my refuge. And some people, when they see some people, someone when they see some people, and then they smile, and then they behave nicely, and then when the person left, then they show their real faces. So we shouldn't act like that. So at the front, or at the front or at the back, and then we behave exactly the same. So we have the faith sincerely in three jewels.
다 되고라 남도 뒤다 되는 람비스 사다 ngola 디바 사바이 냉에 제자랑 거의 다능에도 단지 용바 샤지 때도인도 시디.
Verse 34. Wherever the negativities of degeneration rise as polluted demons and evil spirits, it is the sharp weapons of bad actions turning against us. For having accumulated negativities with respect to the deities and mantras, now we should destroy all conceptualizations.
다디 되나 되려와 남도 뒤다 되는 람비스 다라는 간소베 소소의 취취리 대상 공수 다 담보 대바다 삼바다 공바 라서바 대다게 취취리 급지 취취에 가디 취취바이나 그 취취비가라 남도 년바 마음 죠 남도 년바 죠다 다하다 라마게 당진냐비 원기 땡땡이 지다 랭이 바차지 또지 디비긴 제부 수수 디바긴 제부 시루 랭귀지 수수 남바 샤오는 거로 오 땡디 디빈 제부지 레트서 간다 시루 랭귀지 수수 남바 샤데 다 자보다 쳔보 다 수수 남바 샤사 자보다 쳔보 슬로라 자보다 세 dunre 라서바 땡디게 네반 데미나서 벤 남바 샤네 수수라 참마 네바 징게 나오셔 선생님치 수로와 오 땡디게 징에 반 나서 슈이체 대간다 근데 지와가 만나서 간다 지티는 디빌하다 디빌하라 소비 니메지 포도 땅이 랭이 바사와 해서 그와 니메지 포도 땅하다 다지당 가서 하다가라 소바세와데 나 당신가 지고 짱 많이 바로와 나 지고 짱 많이 봐 지당 가서 들어와 나서와데 가서 단달로부터 이쪽 봐 이배 일이야서 좁아 간다 근데 가서 탐험을 좁아서 오라 간다로와 여쭤봐시 된다 들지 고거로 와 이쪽은 들지 고디 다 간다 니가서 간다 나서 이쪽에서 된다 자고디 다 간다 기샤와 먹이와 참마를 좁히 먹이와 참마를 좁아시거든 기체 타다 개와 기체를 좋아 기체 두가 어다 기체라 두바 대라라 때 간다 수도 리쪽에 오르와 기 샤와 간가 두바 솔라파 랭에 바사와 예세우다 와 근데 나라 소바라 디바사와 나라 디바사와 디카스 나데 데 맞으면 메게월에 쪼바 챙게데 기샤와도 되려와 어따 기샤와도 비치 타라라베 랭에 바사와 예세우 와 랭에 바사와 와 랭에 바사와 딘디 간다 와 다 하다나라 디바사바이 데 간다 랭에 비 챙자들하는 거 예세 된다 디시고
So whenever we engage in practices in Dharma, by listening to it, contemplating it, and meditating on it, then all kinds of negative conceptual thoughts arise. And those negativities that we have accumulated in the past manifest in different forms. So they manifest in the form of demons, as a king spirits and evil spirits, or as non-human beings. Then they arise in all these forms as harm givers, and then harm us. So why we experience such result is because for having accumulated negativities with respect to the deities and mantra. So deities can be the mundane deities and the supra-mundane deities as well. So the negativities that we've done to them, that could be we cause pollution to them, and here tantras, negativities with respect to mantras, or with respect to mantra, and the meaning of mantra is saving your mind or protect your mind. So protect your mind from the ordinariness, and in this what does mantra protect your mind from? It protects your mind from committing non-virtue. So by committing virtue, then it protects your mind from committing non-virtue. So that is what a mantra in this context means.
타다 용바 샤바 싸웠네메바 자구레 히베 다 된다 데려와 담아들어와 최저발 바지지 넘동에바 참아 용바 샤바 데려해서와.
So what we should do now, we should destroy all conceptualizations and obstacles preventing us from engaging in Dharma practice.
다 대제라 오면부터 지진 처음에 라마라서 니네 제발 랭엔지 자라나 거의 다네 가야 유니 용마 샤세 어디 시질마 쉐고.
Verse 35. Whenever we wander powerlessly in a foreign place, it is the sharp weapons of bad actions turning against us. For having evicted lamas and others from their dwellings, now we should no longer banish anyone from any place.
다 된다들이 오면부터 지진 처음 봤어데 다 소소르나 장와 소소 사제질은 로그트나 인도야가 장와미바 나나치 데그트나 대와가 장와미바 컴바 신다질은 데그트나 대사 장와미바 사제 신다질은 데그트나 장와미바 다 인도도 간리나 소소로 장와 자니미바 네버데 미신다지 지서 와미 돈은 로그야지 로와 로그야지 오 데디 유신도 로그와 사제 신도 로그와 디와미바 다 소소게 디사들라 장와스와데 바쁘잖아 메바 다 제요나시 제요스나 요보스라 요보다 요모세와 다 두솔 내가 가르쳐 주지만 늦게 제시는 파 가와께는 딘조아마도 그나서 장와요 말와 다 내가 나시 장와메바 다 간다 뱀봉이 뭐 님바리 다 간다 내가 레군도 보치나 뱅고치는 고진지 에 내가 인다민나서 제시스니 다 장와치는 뭐 그런 다가로 제신 로고야지 와 다 든디게 소소라 장와 부자야 menki 데 간다 든디 오는 로그바데 진세의 가르다디 주도 간디지니 인제비디 인고르스나 다디 저왕마 나서라니 소소 왕치가라 다 뱀보이 비까이 지 든디지나 야베 메게마 미마라베 장와치는 마테바 로아 인도당 데이터 간디나 장와미바 간디 되지바 다 파마다 빈자라서 바로와 지소 간다 이나와 빈자라서 만나다 타나 든도이지 다 간다 뱀보 이브가라 다 간다 소소게 파마 빈자 미스다지나 다 간다 장와치는 마티바 안돈데 메사 사절라 땅바 로와 덴데 메사 사절라 되지바 다 신진다고 지나 차살라 제니게 저도 파 랜살라 비바 다 든디지네 신호로와 다 냐나고 지네 출리여바데 랜이 여기 저도 파 사강살야 유바 다 니니 바테서와 오다 든디 사강볼을 니니게 신지 수출 마유바 춘 파샤와 오다 든디기 니 데사 코로네 데사 니들 데마지 파지 든디기 포비 데 든디기 랭연바데 다 소소라 니바레에서 랭연 증자라는 거 레시디 된다.
So wherever we wander powerlessly in a foreign place, so the result is we have no choice but to go to other place from our own dwellings, from our own place, that we have no choice but to travel to another place, and the house that we stay, then we have no power to stay there, and then we have no choice but to stay at another place. And so we have no power to choose whether we want to stay, or we have no choice to choose whether we want to go or want to sit, for example. And we have no choice but to follow others' orders and then go to the places that we do not want to go. So like a servant, they do as orders, and just like in the office or just like in the office or companies, and then those workers, they have no choice but to follow the orders of those boss, and then though they do not wish to do it. So what is the cause for experiencing this result is when we were having power, and when, like for example, as a officers or have the power in your hand, then you do not give such freedoms or give.
One, that you learn something in a different way. Two, you will have content.
Yeah, you do not give such freedoms to others. Then, like for example, you do not give freedoms to your parents. You do not give freedoms to your family members and even animals. Then you chase them to the place they do not want to go, and then you ask them to stay at place they do not want to stay. Like for example, like animals, they originally stay in water. Then you chase those water away to a dry land. So then they will end up dying, right? So like this, then because of committing such negativities in the past, that is why we're experiencing such results.
그래서 다는 가야 유니용 마셔다 심타마 들어와. 아 정말 되게 된다라고. 다 간다 뒤다다 내선데 신체 간디지나 다 랑기 대사 되네 봐. 사제 신달에 싸웠네. 다 요아 마셔야지 되게 된다데 도도 되려와. 다 디랄리다데. 다 간다 랑기 컴바니 대사 컴바니나 다 파마라서보다 빈자라서보든지 간다 니네 제보다 든지 가서 주소는 이거로 이거 that's the one
And what we should do is, now we should no longer banish anyone from any place. So just like what happens in the society, sometimes the children chase away their parents from their old house. So this is not the correct way to do. So what we should do is no longer banish anyone from any place.
CC laso mendi chuise damzi chine tsugi masumbi lenge jinga rana ko etane damzi laso zangwa shaasi di.
Verse 36, wherever the unwanted such as frost, hail, and so on occurs, it is the sharp weapons of bad action standing against us for not having properly guarded our pledges and morality. Now we should keep our pledges and the like pure.
Adi diro kanda nganzo be 다디소 나주 신바이나 로토 다 신바 로토라 땡거든 가서 좋아지야도 로토라 땡거로 근데 로토라 땡거다 로토도 다 로마야 로지라 랑도 마주바이나다 신바서 방고 찾아 가다로 강이 책으로 다 로바노보지는 신지소 신지라 땡 슈라 땡거로 슈라 땡거로 다 간다 신바다 로바 강라 땡 그게 수강지 요마래 나도 제설 되는 소이노 신로그 제라 때네 소거래 마도 신로그 제라 마데바 다 자원이네 요 말에 제설다 나서 말레진다 보이나 다 나서 신반 말에 로반 말에 제설 시티랑 앞에 아라지니 되네 이상다 그래서 자마 된다 된사의 신발을 땡겨다 된다 된사 도도 신발을 땡겨 신바 간다 로토다 누지라서 말에 광고 잡아이나 시티 대사의 랑히지 나지 고모체이나도 고모자레사래 군세 데텔레사네 데강이 체사로 한다 된다 강은 체사로 오다디 된다 디시고래 시시라서 문제쇼이제 다 간다 신카츠 드비 용비깔라 시스네다 나서 지 베게 돈라이나 ndudsodeso 나서 사도지리 네다 도 사도지리 야나 자모 메시지 지야네 사마로야 같이 지는 거에서 차지요래 어떤지 참로 딱 한다로 тем발라서 봐 어떤지 진지 든지 차지요다 선제부 사도지리 초랑도 다시 문본다보다 사와다 남은 남조지 든지 사와 초랑도 와세요 다 로바이나 앞에 든지 선제도 사마다 나산다 문다 보니 신도야 다 간다 강이 제거 든지 이거로 that the need of that Monday by Nanso Chua, as Shimbaila, Monday by Nanso Chua, Dropaina, Monday by Nanso Chua, so that's why that they can Jesal Denegino, Taranji level, Ranji, Monday Bakang level. That is the Kanga. That is the Kanda, Chiwangamana, Tarangi, Lamata, Kambota, digging conditioner, Suzuki, that Chanchu Simba Domba, Guinea Domba, Nini Domba, Roa, Mamba Chandu Domba, that Domba Mambo Swan Heroa, that Domba to Sigi the Tower must be Domba and Gawa Chanja Chibi, Tendigi, and Nami Shitroa, then Nami, this was that Leo, Dabin Table. That was a Dabin Table of Chow, Dabin Table, where the digital linear message around quarry is, and that direction.
So wherever the unwanted, such as frost, hail, and so on occurs, so like farmers, and then they earn their livelihood by collecting the harvest, by planting the crops and then harvest them. And if the crops do not turn out as desired, then if face some natural disasters, for example, then because of nothing to harvest, then they might become poor persons or become a beggar because of one unsuccessful harvest. And those farmers, they rely on those harvests, and we people live in the city as well, also depends on the harvest, depends on those crops as well. So we have to sustain our bodies by consuming those crops and etc. Right? And because of unsuccessful or insufficient harvest, then the price of those rice, for example, also increase, like 10 ringgit, then become 100 ringgit, for example. And this frost is a natural disasters, and it's a cold weather. So when the fruit is about to ripe, and when the barleys or when those crops is about time to harvest, then because of this change of weather, frost, then all those delicious fruits, for example, and then they turn bitter. So, and then some farmers, they also use animals, right? So use animals to help them to harvest or to plant, to plow land, and etc. And because of some sickness, they come in contact with some sickness, and then those animals pass away as well. So why do we experience such result? Is because in the past we do not properly guarded our pledges and morality, like the pledges to Lama, to Kempo, abbot, and to teachers, and the vows that we have taken, like for example, refuge vow, bodhisattva vows, we do not guard them properly, and we only then we only break those vows that we have received. And because of committing such negativities in the past, we experience the environmental result in these lives. What we should do now, from now on, we should keep our pledges to lamas or to abbot or to the teachers, and the vows that we have taken from them, like for example, bodhisattva vows and tantric vows, and then we keep those pledges and vows pure. Verse 37. Whenever we desirous ones are bereft of wealth, it is the sharp weapons of bad actions turning against us for not having given and not having made offerings to the jewels. Now we should put effort into actions of offering and giving.
저러나 내시라나서 하장 대바 쳐다 어 던디긴 대바 쳐다가 희기배 님시 균도배 다 샤와 제가 네 시스와던데 마시서 다시 나서 되네로 다 다시 나서 되네 장보는 장보 중보는 중보 다시 가지 때 바이나야 로와 다시 가지 때 바이나 타간다 제부 유아의 파쇼 제르마 두츠 방고 제르마 조바 포바 두즈 창로 근데 용구레스 뭐 상당 당근 중보 당 신기 로와 간디치나 장보 용기 에 대바치는 가야 면조 어 근데 제비 원게 대간다 수수 타투라 제부배 zambo kanya te ma to ba andu tele pa pango chanro ya ro tindi yua de ta de jebu de jude karla tini tindi kangi de yungu resena ta jiwa ngama na susu bi seni wangi ta kanda sena kunji de zawa ni pa ma to ro sena ba din number kuido sena be susu ba chappi ba na chi pa kiji zanya be sena kun jin wa pa ta ma do ta ya kunjo la jimba 마페 하장페 쪼보든지 에 조고토니 비시도 지고나 배단도 이심바 담아둬 된지 강이 되는 거로 세나사고 오다 된지 랭이 바왕게 때 소소라 간다 엔조바 된지 비디 우가 말이세고 마 폼바 차야 되게 예세고로 쪼보 차야 되게 예세고
Wherever we desirous ones are bereft of wealth, so what it's trying to say is we have to be contented. So if we do not have contentment, then if we have contentment, then we will be happy. If we do not have it, then we will not be happy. Because those people with great desire, then they always want more. They always look for more, even though they might have earned 100,000 already, and then they want double, and then they want 10 times of it. So they do not feel content with whatever they have. So, and because of this great desire and without any contentment, so they do not acquire the result, acquire the things they wanted. So, and instead of getting the things they want, and their wealth is degenerated. So why do we experience such result? The cause is in the past, then we are miserliness. We are miserly. So we do not make offerings to the three jewels, nor practice giving to others. So even though we see others is about to die out of hunger, then we still cannot offer things to the person because of miserliness. So because of such negativities that we have done in the past, we experience this result.
That's the time she was done choosing dollars so much as it. Dana Kana Kunjola, Chebatonada, Umbonalama, the Zimbatoya, so we didn't Nanga Chudi Shaw, Kandigina, Samala Zumba Chabu, much to that direction.
So what we should do from now on, we should put effort into actions of giving, so offerings to the three jewels, and then practice giving to the poor. Verse 38. Wherever those around us deride our ugly body, it is the sharp weapons of bad actions turning against us for having made ugly images and out of anger. And now we should construct deity images and have a tolerant nature.
That did not also Tambechira reading in and Migi to the Tagre, reading nearby me to the Tagres. Migi read more in that, read out Selina, Migi to the Tagres and Watakana. To the
Tusitano.
Nijichiva. Oh, I said, Najin Jinibi, Tambe, the leader, Shiva, Migi read the Haja Joboina, Migi, and Nijichivres. To look the pay, the soup, the Zobunda in Bachina, Chili no pay, Dilla, the ship, Missekor, so Jeroche, Nijishivres. Roa, Dilawarta, and Nanabuji, Chisu need the Kojini, 당가서 된다데 대샤나 디나시 다 지단 가서 예 수상부 지연에 다 수상부도 가서 무슨 배지나 하는 데가 연주 저러와 수상한에도 라지 간디지나 수 무슨 데네 수지야 말다 수상은 나다 신 간디지나 참만은 거야지 다른 가서 참만에 수 상한 데가 샤다리데 이나야 로와 당가 시대래도 수님비 왕기 메셰다라니 니들 타는 고요 기초라서 받지 니들 세면 되와 주비지 로와 다 지단 가서 제수님에 대한 코진이 비세세 들어와 다 간다 수수수 님바 든디 왕기다 메신다게 간다 투지 따마다 민주체가 되려 된다 로와 그렇지 투지 따야 되려 수님비 왕기다 지다 미쪽보다고 지다 다 같이 리 두어 지기페 미쪽보다 저렇게 투지 쉬고 딸면 되는 요로와 든디 간다 수 제수시나 수시나 비 쪽보다 투지 따와 다 간다이나 롱질 돌리나 쪽보다 투지 따와 로와 오다 든디코 돌로 간다게 찬다 간다 투지 따니 든디 요거래 로와 다 투지소라 요로와 그 돌로 쪽보다 걔네주나 마사 끼제시나 투지 따주는 거지 오다 든디 요거로와 다 든디 요야를 가르스나 다 수수고 레지 스타사래 든디 미기 투지 따니 레오데 지왕가만나서 아니비네 산지라서비 구수라서 든디 샴베세로와 다 지당 아주 수님 바생아 지다 소다서가 하는 농이 맞서 로요로와 다때 나미 인제부터 주드 간디스탄에 인제부터 리고스나 다 지왕가만은 산지라서 든디 구수 소소게 마지마 마지 미신달라 산지라서 구수 심발라 바치제바 심마지가 바치제바 든디게 산지라서 든디게 구수지 구수 통과라서 든디 심바이나 야보 마심바 제정조 学教教，那上教教，等你想吧，那不是多年吧，等你想吧，对吧？是吧？那等你相对干了，你说好不的学吧，学工早晚你不办，往上边空中啥去做，空中差不，是吧？等你空中差不去吧，让你空中差不嘛，就你想那边还这个边呢，那边去吧。 控制的话，引起被塞住啊，等这些。我在等地方给他来年比参加的，当然那过来也是我，等地方。
So wherever those around us deride our ugly body, so belittle us, despise our ugly body. So even in there is a saying that if you belong to the low caste, then others will belittle you or despise you. So if you wear the clothes, bad quality clothes, then even the dog will bully you. So even the dog will bully you. So there is such saying in Tibetans. So the bodies that the beautiful bodies, everyone wants a beautiful bodies or beautiful appearance, nice, good looking or good appearance, and no one wants a bad appearance. So however, being born with ugly appearance, or I say that the appearance is not good, or the economy is poor, and wearing clothes of a bad quality, then even the companions, like for example, the one surrounding us, or even students, or even friends and etc., they belittle us as well. They despise us as well. So why do we experience this result? Is because in the past we have accumulated the negative karma of erecting ugly images. So ugly images of three jewels out of anger. So when we build or create the holy images, then we do not create a nice. We do not create them nicely. Like for example, we draw their eyes, for example, crookedly, or in their nose, their mouth, or we also draw it in a crooked way. And not only we ourselves created ugly holy images, we also prevent others from creating a good holy images. So we become the obstacles for others to create good holy images. Then, and when we create those holy images, we do not create them out of patience. We do not create them out of patience, and then we create them out of anger. And because then we always out of anger, and then we always create harm to others. So the last line is to advise what we should do. So from now on, we should construct deity images and have a tolerant nature. So when we create the holy images, then we have to create them nicely, be it tanka or be it a statue. And then we should have a tolerant nature as well. So we shouldn't show or we shouldn't show our bad attitudes towards others or bad characteristics towards others, and we should have a tolerant nature. So when others they're trying to joke with you, then you do not get angry, and then sometimes they have this tolerant nature or this patience that even you say harsh words to them, then they just pretend not hearing it. So this is what we should have. We must have a tolerant nature or patience. And compared to some people, they get angry easily. So they are those short-tempered. So even though just say a small words that is unpleasant to the persons, then they immediately burst into a fire. So we should not act like pouring gasoline into the fire. Verse 39, whatever we do, attachment and hatred arise in us. It is the sharp weapons of bad actions turning against us. For having hardened our intractable and negative continuum, now we should rid ourselves completely of this rigidity.
뉴무즈가 같은 페나 바로 봐서다는 거지. 근데 지야마도 님고 자원니 마디바디 왕게다 간다 데리서 남지 데부들와 이제 들리지잖아. 제 차다가 쇼서 강대데 일단 네바리스 주바이 간다. 차다가 왕다 또는 세트페 소라고 차다 모습은 데르파 쇼를 봤다는 차다 와서 왕도 로 마치 수수가 봐 님고 상호서와 자원니 마도마. 디지 딱한다 남지 데부들 리진이 주드 데부들 미바레스고
So whatever we do, attachment and hatred arise in us. So attachment, hatred, and ignorance, they are very coarse and they always manifest. So we have to recognize it, our coarse afflictions, the coarse afflictions that we have. So we have to think about the advice given by lamas, and then we have to engage in dharma by listening to it, contemplating it, and then meditate on it in order to abandon it, and then in order to cause those afflictions not able to manifest themselves. Otherwise, and if we always let our mind be influenced by these afflictions, then our mind will be very much afflicted. And so, so why we experience this is because in the past, and we always direct our mind, we always let our mind go in the directions of attachment, anger, and ignorance. We do not think about the faults of those afflictions, and we just let it arise in us. We do not apply any antidotes to stop it from arising. Then we just let it arise in us, and because of this, we experience this result.
Nemisane Nemo Madeba, Sawanine, dear Dusra, Nemo Madeba Madi, de Masi, Dandapina, Susupina, Rana Pe, Nasa Tabari, Susukan Deba Mangaya, the Dachinzi, Chirpe, Sawani, Homes, Dachinzi China, that China Pa, Unipa, most dogi is, Dachinzi China, Alamus, China, taking China, Alabu, yes. What the region da changes to did about Katani. Dilla Katata, the countries in a Maso Combagin and what the Dickator Mako Katana, Shin Chebas or Dirwa. Or Shin Chebas or the and La Chana, Chana, Maris, and what thing with Rua. We did it. That the richer would yes, done and not cheap only you are Shah, I say. What then also G. Susura Pen, Java Karina, Marumba, Sonny Soji, da changes Chawara.
Yeah, so I should not act like what I did, what I've done in the past, that I just let the afflictions to arise in me, to manifest in me, without thinking about its faults and without applying the antidotes. So I will not do that, and then I want to separate myself from you. Self-cherishing attitudes, that is the source of negativities. So you are bad, and then now I will leave you, I will throw you here, I will cast you aside, and then I will leave you alone. So I don't need you. So the way that we separate from the self-cherishing attitudes is not like we take take few steps away from the self-cherishing attitudes. The way that we separate ourselves from self-cherishing attitudes is by cultivating a cherishing others attitude.
What do you do in the row? Juba Kanji miss. Don't go, sir. Juba Kanji miss Masunce. Tawa Nemba Koto Shiba Lenin to Jarana Kwai. Then a Chichi Hindi into Chase. What do you machine?
Verse 40. Wherever, whatever we practice, we do not reach our objective is the sharp weapons of bad actions turning against us for having assimilated an inferior view. Now, whatever we do should be done for others' welfare.
I did that the Juba Kanji miss Master. That only been a row. Tesan Gondula Sabada. Sani to Losa Barwa, Dendi Lanri, Kandi Dubanyane, G Kandi, Jisope, Musicine, Chevaina, that Miss Munashi Teranashi, near the Maswa. So Miss Manashi near the Maswa, Mandoa Chebade. That's also good. And Tundi can't get Dinjameva. You are Tundi, Chuba Dice, that Chiwangaman as a Kanda Dika, Jebede, Jukandi San Shumbarisana, that Chiwangaman as a Tawang in Pacha Shabuki. Tawang in Bicho, Pacha Shangongi, the Lama Hala Teva Tembo, Tawang in Pacha could be Lenny Bitsunjate, that kind of Suran Koariese, to get that don't know.
So whatever practice we do, so for example, listening, contemplation and meditations, and we stay in retreat or we study Lamrim text. So whatever practice we do, it doesn't turn out as we intended, and we do not accomplish the result by engaging in those practices. So why do we experience this result? Is because in the past we lived the strong imprints of negative karma in the past, and because of this we experience this result.
Then Chichi Hindi need to chase water, Chigan Tamati Lajate. Then Tawang in be Pacha only. She ran Jinzi want to Matang was that you put the gender Dirua, ran Jinzi on the Dubalas of the Gila, Chipanji, Shendedo, Shinky Tendo. Takanda, and the sunny teacher, Reserva. Ran Jinzi want to Mata, she can't do Dubaina, ran Jinzi de la Sana Matavaji, she Jinzi, Jebanzi, then the church yes, or did it and that.
So the advice is, from now on, whatever we do should be done for others' welfare. So same as before, so we shouldn't do those practices with self-cherishing attitudes. And instead of doing that, then we should do those practices with cherishing others' attitude. Verse 41, whatever virtuous practices we do, our continuum remain unsubdued. Use the sharp weapons of bad actions turning against us. For having given priority to the grandeur of this life, now we should concentrate on the desire for liberation.
Sani to Kandi, Gijon Raminas of Kandi China, the Rangi Jutsawa Nitomatini. Rangi Ju Motiva, and Najata, a Kundra Samaya Cherry Ju Motivachi. That the Digi Shajin and Jiti Ranga on the Chema, Susupe, Chebachi, that mission that within a Koran Chebari, yes, Sani to the Bonjiata, Peshu, Chanju Sevo, Tombani Gua, Ninja Gua, Shibu, indeed, Bombe. Chebaji needs and Robachi, Chebaji Kunz and Robachi, Roa Kunz and Rone, Chibi Kund and Rone, Kanda Tendang Ibinisla, Mipe Che Thorn in Majin, Che Majiki, Tendigi Cheba the Cheba, Chipachijan, and to Cheba so that this is a Mandaj Gurua, this is a Mandaj Gurua. What's on the Cheba? Indeed, Jitsawan in Madungi. Indeed, Jumba de Career, Roa Yumba de that Chiwangaman also, Kanda. Controller Cheba the Nicholas of the Gijon Jickup City Digita Tanida Nemiji Cheron. Or that Chiwangaman as a social Gijon country to Dubai, send the corner the Chedo, the Tandaran to Dubai. Diginam years ago. Or Suzuki Churchina as a Churchina, Churchedan ship with his Najila. Churchewa and a Churchedan the ship with Ichina, Ichida Debachina, Ichida Debachi will be the ship with Tony. Ichi Debachi Gurua, Ichi Debachi Sigurua. Oh, Tendisonza, Takanda Saint Digi Digi, $10 about Tendigi Peconi Cheduba. That thing also Larino Langazo, Nation near the song as a Dichishita, that the nation near the song, the John Lutchina, the budget, yes, Saint Childi Chigurua. Nation near the song to go, nation near the song Latine. Then I saw the chicken lane a Tanabre, Saji chicken was about Tochel, and the lower Larino and Shima Casirua.
Casati, Casani to Soma Seti, Lamrima.
Or Larilla Nishin so. 맞아在设计松巴就치와 니의 디비치라 니히지다 자와 서지드는 치 네바니의 소 치 셰바니의 소와 스키와 근데 치 네바다 셰바니의 소와 딜라티니 뜻은 나사베 지붕을래 지바산 파다토야 사진바처럼 초치는 우리 예세대 비어 쇼저를 쓰고로 니히니의 소나 다 단다데디레 게종 강시자 랑이 지마다 다 첸디기 되어 쪼가마라 첸디기 되어 지부이 체도 대상로 장자 돈에 대가다 소사 지바장 간디지바나 첸디기 땅내라다 되어 디치도 지부 상로 땅에 단 데비도 예바레스 고로와 랑이 지마다
Yeah, so the virtuous activities that we do, listening, contemplation, meditations, and stay in retreat, and however, my mind remain unsubdued. And instead of subduing our mind, my afflictions such as pride is getting stronger and stronger. So in the eyes of others, they see us as a practitioner. So we engage in as we stay in retreat, then we meditate on, so we cultivate bodhicitta, and then we cultivate compassions. So we are, though we are categorized as practitioners, as a Dharma practitioners, however, our actions is no different from those non-Dharma practitioners. We do not act differently from those non-Dharma practitioners. And in other words, is our mind remain unsubdued. And why we experience this is because in the past, whatever practices we do to accumulate merits and to purify our negativities, we do it for the sake of these lives only. And so that is related to what I mentioned before. So if we want to practice Dharma, we need to know how to practice Dharma. And if we develop faith and develop belief, and then we have to develop them on out of reason, so depending on reasoning. And then this is also related to the teachings that are covered in Lamrim about the effective way to explain and to listen to Dharma teachings. So by depending on this effective or proper way of listening and explaining Dharma, the negative karma accumulated in relation to, the negative karma of abandoning Dharma can be purified. Even those negative karma that are in the process of accumulating, then those are nip in the buds. So they are stopped. The process of accumulating is stopped.
dāne gīzhōng kāng shēpa dhīrwa tāne dhāla sōpe tēndī chē tu sōwa māyīmbā dā māgī sīnchī tāngchī tāpa tā sāngchī jī gōmbā tōpa dī chē tu dī tsōsā jīpa jīwa chē gu rē jī dāndā dhīrī rwa māgī sīnchī tāngchī dā tāpa tā tāngchī jī gōmbā ya wē dī chē tu dī chīnchī tsōsā ngā jī jīpa jīwa rwa ngā jī jīpa jīwa na sīmbā dhīni dī tēndī chā gu rē sī dāndā dhīrī rwa.
So what we should do is now we should concentrate on the desire for liberations. So the practice of accumulating merits and the practice of eliminating our negativities, we do it for the sake of achieving liberations and achieving the state of enlightenment. We do it for achieving liberations and the state of enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings.
다 되오나 안두마 탈라 따힌지 비세 체메 산도 토칸 dimbai lenets janana koi dane khangla ndulu zaba shaase odadir mashi.
Verse 42. Wherever as soon as we sit down, we examine ourselves and develop regret, it is the sharp weapons of bad actions turning against us, for unabashedly making new friends and flitting from one lofty person to another. Now we should be attentive to all in the manner of a friend.
다딘 두마 탈라 따힌 지비체로와 다디리 간다 라니 차니 두체바다 린로라서 로종 지비깔 토마 다소소페 차치 되고나 장주지 세고나 니제고나 간다 소소그 페네 게종 간디지 칸디지나 간디지 제고나 마 두마 타더와 대소소게 간다 로존이 제 pombo 소나시 대소소 배 간디체도 소소 제바치고 로아 예 간디체 제바치 소소 따치야고 제가 간디체도 참디베가라 로존 집에가라 상호 간디 땅도 대소소 상호단에 들어와 다 간다 상호단에 상호야고 다시 제바나 다 상호야고 땅도 소소게 되나 상호단에 제바야고 제데 ngama게 pe chani du da che ge jo kandi ji du ba ina ta pe ngwe ni chige chidan timba yabuji sawani ne chumu du sa de da de sanu da da shin go ro ngwe de ne kuno le na kuno ya po ma re ba ngwe shi le na ngwe shi la ya po ma jo ba ngwa chi be kala rang yi sin je da pha jang ra chi bo se ri wa da ni me wa da dewa yi wa se de ge ngwa chi bo che ba da jong yin ju so la 상동당사 야부지 주문도서 단제바 잡부지 간다로 마디비칼라 되게 간리체도 수수 상동당에다 야부지 봐 근데 상례에다 수선 제바지로 와 다 된din 제바지와데 체념만아서와 다 체메 사도시 봐 담은 제바지로 디치라는 데서
However, as soon as we sit down, we examine ourselves and develop regret. So, for example, if you want to stay in retreat, or if you want to do the religious practices, or even if we want to study, or even if we're trying to cultivate bodhicitta or compassions, then we have to study them, and then we have to examine them as well. So, how to cultivate such thought. And when I sit down and examine myself, and I realize that whatever I do is not properly done. So what does it mean is at the beginning, motivations part, then I do not do it right, and at the actual sessions, and I do not do it right. Same as for the dedication as well. So instead of dedicating the merits for the sake of all sentient beings, I dedicate to my own. And having examined myself, and then we develop regret.
다 데간다 단 제버치바 마신 제버데 페치비 소소라 페 셴발로게 당아라 페 노토페 쳔보 치자 사원니 먼디페 치자스나 소소 랑그랑라 셴발로바 시치시야요 어떤 제 랑그랑라 셴발로바 랑그랑라 페 쿤로 세페 다 소소 페 노토 쳔보지 치도 다 사원니 내가 수도 팀바 제모도사 소소라야 나지 다 레지 돌아가서 네치키데 소소라 도 슈도 소소 네치키야 that the share so not touch him but that did not know is so send it or that rang shimbalova the chain was a tashi then jebedili.
Yeah, then when we examine ourselves, and then we develop the regret to the extent that we slept ourselves. So because of the faults, the great faults that we realize that we have done in our practices.
That taking Namijin Jebutica, Namijin Jebuti Jukandichilati Chumbarisna, that Chime Sadu Togan Timba is a Diro, Chime Sadu Togan Timba, that Diwang Chumbaris Gorwa. That dig tender the Wachongamana Kanda, Chime Sadu Shiva Pena Lama da Gigi, that Lama da Gigi, Tsuki Show, that's also Giginda, Tsuki Lama Tsuki Shiva, that Tsukas Tomarangi, one Hisata. Pecha Chihisa, Roa Chihisa, Kandi Jimaina, the Tambupe Chihibicala, and Naranpe Lamari, Gigin Sanji Gituba, Chanju Simba Gituba, Sinepishu, Terra Tanguris or Tarwa, Terra Mambushu, Ita, the Kansa Jaya, Gigi Shendachi Raudi, that Namadi Payu Sarsibo, Namada, Logi Shida Mashiba Chihisa Shida. Mandrobachi, Pachini, Ya Sabat Leodi, Ya Sabat la Terra Tani, Yape, Sanji the changes in Vituba, the Sanji Machaba Shibuji, Terra Tani. That the Terra Tanshi, Tanshirua. That Namama get a payo, De Roa, De indigenous Kansajila, De Kanda, Tokan Dreams or that the Kanda Walmart in Tokan Dinta the Walmart Shibua, Tanda the Kanda. Assassinilla, Asala, the Kanazo, Killer, Assassin. Tambuji, Nazo Tobo Sabaji, Tuba in a Tobo Sabat and Duba Shivo, Kansachila, the Cotis, Lokaji, Chasnaya, Kolashida, Sedum, Chichila, Sedum, Yashin, the Sabaj, Telak, Gaboche, 야, 데 로카시 지나야, 다와카시 지나, 야, 시다, 제대로 해봐야, 시다 사바치. 오다 든지 토가 장장 짐바들 거다. 든지 나미 치다와, 든지 나미 진드비치. 단 티지 샤 하스와.
And the cause of this experience is for abashedly making new friends and flitting from one lofty person to another. So here, new friends refers to lamas and teachers from whom we receive initiations, commentaries, and teachings. And then at first, then we have high regard for those lamas and teachers. Then we always praise them as, oh, this is the manifestations of bodhisattvas, and this lama is the manifestations of Buddhas. Then after some time, then we found another lamas or teachers. Then we throw the old one away. So and then we repeat the same orders. Then we praise the new lamas or teachers, and then until we find a new one, then we throw them away. So this is what I'll say in the conventional world. So when we meet new friends, then we treat them very well. And a few years later, then we don't care. We do not give a damn to them anymore, and then we make new friends again. Then we repeat the process.
오다들라 된다니도 대대치당 가서 서로 제거해줘. 된다니 가르치나 토간 팀바서 된다니요. 도도는 무슨 디바이나. 다 된다니도 가르치나 수수비 라마다 기기 텐쇼부터 토간 팀바서 지요. 라마다 수수 기기 라마다 기기 텐쇼 고라 토간 팀바. 지데 출라 토간 팀바. 아미 출라 토간 팀바. 다디니요. 다 데니도 눈이 다네 내가 쉬고요 된 중요하다. 인조 내와 쉬고지를 됐어도 제가 쉬고지를 다 개개 대조는 도간 dim바세와디 다 사도치에 들어와 도간 dim바 사도 도간 dim바 다 개개 대조가 도간 dim바다 다 다시 공도 시가 된다 되래. 다시 공도 시가 와 다 담보 개개 담보 니베깔라 나스페스 개개 토마 니베 라마 때때베깔라 페 시바 대바 첸도 가고 쉬고지 제로와 대바 첸도 쉬고지 대 간사지라 개개 니바 나머지 라마 니바 나머지 라오디 내들라 시다 대바 민요 나머지 시다 대바 마타마지 대 대자 간사지라 마라 니 개개 라마 마라 마테리 대 간사지라 디스 mambochasna 다 개개 라마 केटा घरे छेवाले दिला पे इचिरा देबा शिव लेबाची केटा दि मेबा नोनचु छेदे देयाने दि नोनचु नोनचुदु छेदे सुदान थिबा दिंगे दि जिना दिसुलो शिदा इchi मेबा देबा मेबा वो दि 다 미 체초다 केटा 체초 दि 장장ले 다 다닌 도가 되라 다 기기 때조는 도간 좀 바스티 이러와 뭔가 담으듯이
So this third line has 2 points. So one is in relation to lamas or teachers, and another point is in relation to dharma. So in relation to lama or teachers is what I have mentioned just now. So making new friends, meeting a new lama, and then we develop strong faith in them, and then until we find the second one, then we throw the old one away. Then we repeat the process, and until then, when after we collect many lamas and teachers already, then we only develop faith and belief in those who are famous, and those who even in those who are qualified teachers, and however they act in low profile, then we do not develop faith and belief in them. So this is what it means by la. Oh, wait, hello. Wait. Okay. It's just now got some technical problem. Yeah. Now can hear, yeah. Now can hear, right?
Yes, can hear.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. They you say.
그
They
저건
출라테니로.
이게 대소라 저거는 같이서로 다니 뭐 출란 동안 좀 봐서 되래 다 출란 동안 좀 봐대 인주 니모 다도 가서 인주 니와를 배 소소 제거로 다 출란 동안 돼서 가서 에 제비 중국인 중국은 한걸 놓치는 마장게 놓치는 마장게 다 제비 중국은 중국은 놓장 간다 치와 못하바다 신이 돼서 내우로 다 치와 못하바다 신이 돼서다 로 장로다 렌데 지서라 로 자완네 마장게 로 제분이다 팀원하나 니주서 놓치는 마장게 랑사베 상하의 취세와데 차치 조치 뜸세와 서다 그래서 상호지 땅자바이나 랑사 세지를 배 상지지 고파토야 되는데 랑사베 이게 라바지 마스나 이게 랑사 강리 연주 아마도 올 맞지는 만져야지 그러와 토가야 로그나 토가야 로그나 깬자올 미치는 마다 랑사 토가를 밑단 누구 다 간다 토가를 밑단 너희 담지 깜바 미기 토니 산다고 내가 쇼레되로와 토가야 로그나 미드 미기 깬자올 밑단 양도 그러와 미드 미기 마다 미 강리야 따니 된 너희 간다 리노 다 간다 때 tempo 되고 마마 리노 깜바 미기 돌로 슈 신을 신돌로 슈 리노 어다 내가 나시 출란 토간 좀 봐. 저 되나 되래. 그러와. 간다 상하게 최대 니바 첨부. 세지 다가 상지에 니바 첨부 연구 지로와. 든디 니바데 노조 제와라. 냐니 제와라. 제부 충분한 팀을 나지는 벌로 장 팀을도 만들어 봐. 닌다 팀을 나지는 벌로 장와 성을도 만들어 봐. 니바 첨부데 수술로 그러 시군 말에 마자게 두데 마자게 수보잖아 지를 세그레 마도 현다 샤지로서 사와 있는 실로 쓰고 근데 상하라 앞에 응원도 냐리 각케지면 상하를 지나 각케지 고야 쳐야 그러요 말이지 고야 쳐 예 고야 쳐야 파쇼 예 덴딩 가다 장자 응가와 덴딩 냐리 제당 싸운 이식 말이 된 가다 장자 들어가게 내가 차치 못 사게 내가 요리스 거고
And the second one is in relation to Dharma. So flipping from one lofty person to another. So always look for a higher status. So this can be link it to the Dharma as well. So not only the person can link it to Dharma as well. And this is something is dangerous to us because it could happen very easily. So we have to be very careful. So without training our mind in the path common to the small scopes of beings, like for example, the practice of contemplating the death and contemplating death and impermanence by studying the guru devotions, and then karmic cause and effect, and a refuge. So without training our mind in those paths, and then we immediately engage in tantra practice, thinking that because of this practice could lead us to the state of enlightenment in one lifetime, then we immediately engage in those Mahamudra or great completions or Tummo practice, and then in the hope of getting achieving the state of enlightenment as quickly as immediately. So we shouldn't practice like this. An example to illustrate this is even if we aim for something high, we have to look at our steps as well. So if we do not pay attention to our steps, then there is no way that we could reach the high thing that we wanted, right? So we have to be very careful. So in order to engage in those tantra practices, then we must practice or train our mind in the paths of common to the small scope of beings, medium scope of beings. And without doing it, then there is no way that we could understand tantra. And since we do not know the proper way to practice tantra as well, whatever we do contradicts tantra practice. And just like the peacock, they have the ability to digest digest the poisons, and if other birds were to eat the same poisons, and then they will die because of this poison. Yeah, so we have to be, we shouldn't differentiate dharma into bad and good and bad, and then same to the spiritual teachers as well. So what we should do, the advice is, we should be attentive to all in the manner of a friend. So we have to be careful in our associations with them. So for example, the spiritual friends, then how should we properly rely on them? So what are the conducive conditions for proper guru devotions? And we shouldn't act like a dog seeing a piece of meat or lung. So these I have already mentioned in other class already. And in relation to Tantra, then we have to study and train ourselves in the foundations. Verse 43, whenever we are cheated by others' deceptions, it is the sharp weapon of bad actions turning against us as retribution for our great pride and strong desirous hunger. Now we should diminish desire with respect to all. Yeah, so wherever we are cheated by others' deception, so wherever we do how it works and etc., then we are always cheated by others. And why we experience this is because as a retribution for our great pride and strong desirous hunger. So in the past, we accumulated the negative karma that we of being selfish, and we do not have any concern for others' needs, and then we only put our concerns as the main one. So, and because of having accumulated such negative karma, then we experience this result. Yeah, so because of accumulating negative karma of being pride of being being pride, and then also do not have contentment. So now we should have contentment, and then we shouldn't have proud as well. So we have to have a concern for others' needs, and just like saying that even if we have the realizations equal to the deities, and then we have to act in accordance to others.
I think you stop here.
So I will stop here, and then we do not have time for question and answer. Then please ask next time. Thanks. So we dedicate the merits, roots of virtue accumulated, especially to these Dhamma teachings for the sake for Buddha Dhamma to flourish in 10 directions. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue for all sentient beings to have happiness. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue for the world peace. May happiness prevail the world, and may the world be free of natural disasters, free of this pandemic, and free of conflict and war as well. So may these opposing forces be quickly be eliminated. And we also dedicate these roots of virtue to many sentient beings pass away due to natural disasters and due to this pandemic as well. So may their negativities accumulated since beginningless time be quickly eliminated and achieve the state of enlightenment as quickly as possible. And they are sentient beings who are experiencing suffering right now. May they be free of those sufferings. And may we also dedicate these roots of virtue to doctors, frontliners, nurses, and those who offer helps to others. May they live long, good health, and may their life be filled with happiness.
Savye wa de tenang doa kunga kambe na kiba jizun losan dawa yu tenbe nyingbo rendo se je shu jangchu sekjo rinpo je ma kepa na kikyo ji keba nyamba me baya kondo pe wa shu jambe pa we jita kemba dan kundo samba de ante shinde de da kunge je so talo je kewa de da dan je ra to mo tawa rinpo je ma kepa na kikyo ji keba nyamba me baya kondo pe wa shu rimye tawa rinpo je ma kepa na kikyo ji keba nyamba me baya kondo pe wa shu tuye chanjin jambe kewe de jikyo bewe kunso tobo se cho sungku we le mu tu wa da so tu je kunto shak de shu je sung to ju be lan chi se 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 kang chi ten tu kun chana pi mo ten zing ka so la so wa de so ten ten le ro shu i chi ten kang de pen de ma le ba kang de ju we sam pe yi shin nu se me ten zing ka so la so wa de so tu je le ro shu ku de ra we ko we shin kang de pen da de wa ma lu ju we de se wa ten zing ka so yi sha pi si de pa tu de yu ji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Geshe-la. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Geshe-la.
Geshe-la.
Thank you, Geshe-la. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you,
Good night,
Geshe-la.
Geshe-la. Good night,
Thank you,
everyone. Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ken. Thank you,
Thank
Geshe-la.
you.
Sheila, thank you, Ken.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night, Geshe-la. Good night, Ken.
Yeah, good night.
Good night.